To Premier League Friday. Man United are flying under Michael Carrick. They host Spurs tomorrow, looking for a fourth win in a row for the first time in 2 years. Now, despite not knowing who will be in charge next season, Michael Carrick says the players have fully bought into his methods.
Just wonder how you reflect on that chat, and I suppose it shows how life can change in a short space of time. You're now managing against him this weekend.
Yeah, certainly could change it. I really enjoyed it. Actually, it was we got on really well. It's the first time I've met him really properly, and we had a good chat just about general football kind of things, and a little bit on processes and ideas a little bit. But he was really accommodating actually, and I enjoyed it. So it'll be good to see him again.
It's just over 19 and a half years ago since you signed for Manchester United from Tottenham. I know you, of course, played against them many a time, but you talk about your love for the club and how you fell in love with Manchester United. Can you pinpoint when that was after you made the move from London to Manchester, and maybe when that moment was for you?
Yeah, it was pretty instant. I mean, I've got really fond memories of Tottenham and being at the club. You know, I was there for a short time, or what feels now like a short time when you look back, but really enjoyed it. Good team. Martin was manager, and there was a lot of kind of things that I learned at the club in that short period of time, you know. But yeah, I've said it enough times. I think coming here was a jump, and a big jump at the time, and I certainly felt that pretty quickly. And then yeah, I think once you step inside this place as a footballer, then it kind of it turns you, you know, and. So pretty much from the first day, walking into the dressing room, meeting the manager, from then on in, it was that was me.
Yes.
Having sat down with Thomas just that short time ago, what kind of challenge did Tottenham bring on Saturday?
Well, they certainly bring a challenge. I think you can see, you know, especially the way they finished the game the other day, and they've had, over a period of time, players injured and ins and outs, and a lot of changes to the team, which makes things a lot more challenging, a lot more difficult from their perspective. But getting players back, and they've got good attackers, you know, really good attackers that look to stretch the back line and play forward and attack the box an awful lot. So it's something we certainly got to be aware of, you know, and slightly different game to maybe what we've played over recent weeks in some ways, but we're looking forward to it. You know, we're in a good place, and boys have worked well again this week. Again, feet on the ground. Let's not get carried away with what's gone on, but it's about what's next again. So big challenge ahead, but we're looking forward to it.
And for yourself, obviously it's a great start, Michael, but has it even surprised you at how well it's gone to this point?
To be honest, it was coming in at the very start, and then they get the game so quickly. It was kind of step by step, so I wasn't really looking too far ahead, and you know, obviously people saying at the time of the first two games at that point were standout games, and expecting a tough start, and in some ways that maybe helped, and to get the whole group and focused and alive, if you like, you know, going into both games. But yeah, I didn't really look too far ahead, you know, and I couldn't allow myself to do that. But certainly over time, we kind of got a big idea of what we want it to look like coming through the door, and certainly since we've been here, that becomes a lot clearer in what direction we want to go in. And how we want to play, you know. But certainly the 3 wins have been fantastic in different ways. So we feel confident we've got a lot of growth in the team and the squad, but it's coming from a good place.
Hi, Michael. Matthias de Ligt and Mason Mount weren't pictured in training the other day. When are you expecting those two to be back available for you?
Yeah, probably Mason sooner. He's not too far away, really. So we're hopeful it won't be too long at all for Mace. Matta, a little bit, he's working his way back. He's taking good steps and he's improving, and it's been really positive. A little bit too soon at the moment, but hopefully it won't be too long as well.
Just wanted as well to ask, there's some gaps coming up in the schedule. There was talk earlier in the campaign about mid-season friendlies. I think Ruben Amorim the predecessor said United would have to do it due to missing out European football, the need for revenues and things like that. Is that something that you're aware that's going to be happening? Are plans afoot to go anywhere?
Yeah, at this stage, it's nothing's confirmed, or we are aware of the schedule, and there is some kind of spaces, if you like, that we can use in different ways. So it's all up for discussion at the moment, but nothing's been decided, and it might happen, it might not. You know, we'll just have to wait and see.
Michael, in terms of the kind of future of the football club and looking beyond like the next game, when it comes to shaping the squad for next season, does the fact that there is uncertainty over the manager's position, is that going to be a hindrance? You've been a player, you know what it's like. Do players want certainty about what's going to happen if they're thinking about coming?
The players have been spot on and fully focused. To be honest, I think. Listen, we all aware of the bigger situation and what ifs and what might happen, but I think as a player anyway, you're focused on what's ahead of you and trying to achieve what you can at this moment in time and for the rest of the season. So I've got no issues with it. I've got no concerns. The lads have been better than you could imagine in terms of fully invested in it, and I've said that over the last couple of weeks anyway. So we're just focusing on being better and improving and getting ourselves in this club to where we want to be, you know, and it's small steps, but it's obviously a big end to the season that we're looking towards.
And just
Conduct, leadership.
Leadership is many things. Leadership is, I'm 52 years old. I think I'm pretty good at leadership. Can I get better every single day? Yes. Do I make mistakes? Maybe not every single day, but probably weekly. Romeo is 27 years old. He will still make mistakes going forward as a leader. Does he do a lot of good things? Yes.
Thomas, it was only January the 8th, so it's less than a month ago. We were talking about this, asking very similar questions to Thomas.
Yeah.
You said it's the exact same situation they do. You make a mistake, don't make the same mistake twice. And where do you draw the line?
I think sometimes someone do more than one mistake, and we've dealt with it internally.
This overall really good win over Eintracht Frankfurt, finishing 4th in Champions League. Good performance against City as well, especially in the second half. Is it kind of frustrating to have to come in here and talk about it again?
I can agree on it would be nice if we just talk about football and positive stuff, and going forward, that will be the ideal case.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I think the message from QT on his Instagram chimes with supporters because it's what they think, and that they've heard these reasons or excuses for not strengthening the squad many times after every window. It seems to be the same sort of thing. What can you say to suggest that anything is different to what QT has seen in 5 years, to what fans have seen in many more years?
Of course, I can say historically, of course, I've follow Tottenham from the outside, but don't have enough inside knowledge to really judge it. The last 4 years. Of course, I know this is the last window in September, and of course, I know about the January window. I think in the September window, we made 2 good signings and relatively big signings in Xavi Simons and Mohamed Kudus, and a good loan in João Palhinha. So it's not that we don't want to loan players. In terms of try to strengthen the squad. And I think if you compare us to other top 6 clubs, or so-called top 6 clubs, where they are, we think it was a big signing with Conor Gallagher. And I know the club is very ambitious, I know the owner is very ambitious. I'm not in doubt that we will see that going forward.
It seems the other thing that I would take from it is that it seems that your dressing room think that they need help.
I think it's all contextual. So right now, this moment of time, of course, we have a few injuries. So if we had 4 injuries less, I think it'll feel less. I'm not in doubt of that. Of course, injuries, how can you say, doesn't help, but it's part of football. So if we didn't have that, I'm pretty sure they'll feel differently.
They will talk to each other, they will know who's injured and for how long and when they're coming back.
Yeah.
Whether they feel strong enough. they clearly don't feel strong enough. The leader is out there saying this.
I think it's one person's, speaking up. We don't know if he speaks on behalf of all the players. That's your perception. So we don't know that. I think that's fair to say. So that's one thing. Secondly, we don't know if one thinks it all. That's what he thinks. We read into a text, and yeah, I think we have a team and a squad that can compete. Of course, right now we have a few injuries that doesn't help us.
The fact that I take that others agree with him is like you were talking to Alistair about what a light means. Pedro Porro answered his message after Bournemouth by saying amen.
Yeah. But I think I'm very good at many things, but in terms of knowing what everyone knows from a like on a small text or post, I simply must say I'm not intelligent enough to answer that.
So fine. So are you confident then that the players are not in revolt?
I doubt if I understand that question.
The players are not angry at the way the club is running things, that what Porro says is not. That what Future Romero says is not simply the tip of an iceberg that's bubbling away inside the dressing room.
I think everyone is ambitious here. Everyone wanna win. Everyone wanna make sure we do the best in the league, and we have a good opportunity in the Champions League that we need to hunt everything we can. I think it's important what they show on the pitch, and I think what they showed on the pitch in general, I think have we got a result? No, not all of them we want, but we've got some good performance, better, yeah. How are they running when they're behind? I see a team that is fighting, and players that are fighting. I think that's the big thing.
I mean, it's the question we keep asking each week now, which is how is he going to get this job permanently, Ben?
Getting into Europe gives him a really good chance. I think if he does that, he will be in the running to get it permanently. But I've been really impressed with him. He's so like he was as a player. He's calm. He's composed. Yeah. He's got a good group of staff around him. The players will give him respect immediately. He's in a familiar sort of environment, which he's just walked into, and it's not sort of rabbit in the headlights. He's taken it in his stride, and he got away with it a little bit at the weekend with the goal. But it's kind of, I guess, a throwback to where United, and that will be the narrative, won't it? United's winning last minute.
An incredible goal scored against them as well. Kevin's goal was out some hit.
Fantastic goal.
Yeah.
You think it's 2-2, obviously, then.
But they're winning the games. They're winning those games. I mean, Merce, for you, do you think he does? Is there any scenario that you think he keeps this job?
The one thing he needs, and it probably wouldn't help him, is probably to win 5 or 6 on the trot and then lose 3 or 4 on the trot.
Yeah.
And then how do you respond?
Right.
Do you know what I mean? But then if you lose 3 or 4 on the trot, everybody go, he shouldn't be made. But the only way we're ever going to know is when you lose them 3 or 4 games and the scrutiny comes on you, you're at the biggest club in the world or one of them, how you're going to cope. We see this with Solskjaer. He come in, he's at the wheel.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you see pictures of him at Watford away that day when they got destroyed, and he just looked lost. He probably needs to lose 4 on the trot and then come back and win 5 on the trot, and everybody go, that's a good manager. He's turned it around, the pressure was on. That's the only way we're ever going to know. But it wouldn't look good on him if he lost 4 on the trot, but that's the only way we're ever going to know. Yeah,
do you think this is, though, when you look at it, Ben, do you think this is the kind of Solskjaer situation, or is this a different, is this a different manager?
Well, that's what he's getting judged on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We've seen it before.
Yeah.
Solskjaer come in, and Rio was saying, I respect Rio's opinions, and he was real sure, he's at the wheel, and it didn't work out. And you don't want to judge someone, but you can only judge a manager by when they lose in football matches. When you come in and you win, it's easy.
I think that's why it's important.
It's easier than punditry then. It is easier than punditry. It's when you start losing games. But, you know what I mean? I would like to see him, just for him to lose 3 and then bounce back and win 5 on the trot. And then I'm like, give him the job.
I think that's why it's good to have a support staff as well around you.
Yeah.
People that know the game.
He done well to bring in Steve Holland.
Yeah, Steve Holland and people like that would be important as well.
Yeah, I mean, do you see it? Do you, from a player's perspective as well? Do you see the reaction from the Man United players? That's not them just going, we're still good players. It's them working for a new man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're down tools for the previous manager. I think they were still giving him a lot. It wasn't working. No, it wasn't working.
Yeah.
The whole system. You bring Harry Maguire back in. You got Martinez back in there, giving him a solid base as well. Know the league, and then you let the players flourish. Obviously, Fernandes has been fantastic this year. Brian's been great. Brian Mbeumo and Cunha's looking to be a little bit more sharper now as well, and scoring goals, which is fantastic for them. So yeah, just players. When a new manager does come in, it just kind of give you a little bit more of a bounce. But the person Carrick is as well, and the people that are around we've spoken about, just demands that respect, for what he's done at the club as well. Do
you think this is...
he's just done something very simple. He put everybody in their own position.
I think...
Do you know what I mean?
He's put Bruno Fernandes where he should be playing.
Exactly. Yeah. And then he's put Casemiro with Mainu. And look at Casemiro now. He's got help there and they're both flourishing. Everybody plays in their positions now. It's weird how it works.
I know. I mean, Bruno
then
Fernandes...
It's easier than pundit.
Then it's easier. I love it. Bruno, you touched on him there. He's... in some form. He's got 12 Premier League assists. He's close to that record, which is 20 by Henry and Kevin De Bruyne in a Premier League season. Do you think he can do that? Do you think he can go on and beat that?
He'll make the chances. It's up to them to put the ball in the back of the net. He'll make more than 8 clear-cut chances before the end of the season.
Yeah.
But it's up to the people to put the ball in the back of the net. They haven't really got, in my opinion, a natural goal scorer. Like someone who is natural, he's going to score. You see Man United's goals, they're always top-draw, weldy goals. You never get that bounces off the post and someone taps it in from 4 yards and they go, I could have scored that. No one else was there. Like a Gary Lineker, like Haaland can.
Poacher goals,
Poacher goals. They haven't got that natural goal scorer, but he will make enough chances to beat that record. They just got to put the ball in the back of the net, and if they do, he won't be far off.
I mean, it's been quite impressive as well. I mean, in terms of set pieces, they're scoring more goals than Arsenal from set pieces, and it's kind of going a bit unnoticed. I mean, when you've got a player of Bruno Fernandes' quality, I mean, that's always going to come, isn't it?
Yeah, going to say that his quality and set pieces. You got someone like him in the side is fantastic, and Miss was saying, can't remember what you're saying.
No, about Bruno Fernandes is set plays. The one with the Casemiro.
Yeah,
it's just a brilliant free kick. Do you know what I mean? One, it's hard to pick up, and two, it's a cross that you can score from. Yeah. It's not one of them second phase crosses.
Saying about a centre forward though, he's managed to get as many as he has without a centre forward, a typical centre forward. So there's no chance of saying that he can't do that with the next ones.
I think the big question now, looking ahead towards that end of the season, where they are going to, Ineos are going to have a decision to make, and it's a hard one to work out right now. Is the pressure on? Is it on Michael Carrick or is it the pressure on Ineos?
I think it's on Ineos more than Carrick. The one thing with Michael Carrick, and the most dangerous thing is for Man United, if they go and get someone else, and he will get a job somewhere, because if he keeps on doing what he's doing, still a lot of games to go, but if he keeps on doing what he's doing, he could haunt Man United. He could haunt Man United by going somewhere else and doing well. But all he can do, I don't know if the meeting was, you're coming in, we've already got a manager coming in, you just don't know. And he's been given an unbelievable platform. He's managing one of the biggest clubs in the world of football. There's no doubt about that, in my opinion. If he keeps on doing what he's doing, he won't be a pundit.
Yeah. Ben, how much have you bought into that Man United DNA and their need for something like that?
I'm not sure. I think every manager has their own way of playing and things. Obviously, United, massive club, massive history with the way things have been previous years, last couple of years. Obviously, went to a different sort of formation and whatnot. But obviously there'll be a narrative now. Obviously, with the way they've won the previous game and that's back. But I mean, time will tell in the way Carrick wants to play and do things. But as Mer said before, players are playing in the right positions, playing where they should be, which makes it life easier for them and for him as well.
Absolutely. So that's Man United. I feel like next we should have done the poll being what's harder, manager or pundit. That should have been it.
No. It's managing's much harder.
Much harder.
Believe me.
Well,
Tim, what do you make of the whole Romero situation? 2 weeks ago, he was out on social media, then again this week after City.
Yeah, I don't know why he's doing it. I don't see the logic in it. I really don't. He's taking on the club. It's not good. It's not good for the fans. It's not good for the club. It's not good for the players. I just think he needs to concentrate on playing. The fans quite like him. They quite like him in the opposition box. I'm not sure about defending his own box, what he's paid to do. Because he's not very reliable in that front. But they've got worse players. You know, he does drive them forward. He has scored and come up with some vital goals at the end of games to rescue some points for Spurs. But he needs to keep his mouth shut, in my opinion. I just don't think it's healthy for the club all round. I just think he needs to let the recruitment guys look after recruitment, let the manager manage the club, and he needs to concentrate on just playing football.
How would you manage that situation?
Well, I'll just tell him there's no future in that. You know, all you're doing is spreading negativity around the football club, and it's exactly what we don't need at the moment when the results are not going that well. So just concentrate on playing. We can sort out your future. You know, we can do it in the background. If you want to leave at the end of the season, it looks like he wants to leave. I mean, he's talking his way out of the clubs, for sure. Then we can, you know, find a way for you to move. I'm sure there'll be clubs willing to take him. But at the moment, it's causing a negative atmosphere and a negative vibe around the place, especially when there's a lot of players at the club who you would like to keep, especially Mickey van der Ven, who is his defensive partner there. Tottenham will fight tooth and nail to keep hold of Mickey van der Ven because there'll be a queue around the block to come and take him because he's proved that he can stay fit. And he is an hierarchy player. I would say if everyone's fit, Mickey van der Ven plays, he's the first on the team sheet. I can't really name any other Tottenham player who I could say that about. You know, there's a much of a muchness about all of them, really. So this didn't be a great game of football. I have this is the top game of the weekend. That's how many good games there are. Well, it's 2.
For you? This is the top game for you?
For me, it's the top game. I think it's a good game of football because there's so much at stake for Manchester United. I mean, Michael Carrick's done brilliantly. Yeah. The first 2 games were more than just 2 wins. It was against two of the best teams in Europe, you know, so it's the performance, the way they were organised. It was a different vibe. It was more like Manchester United. He's almost like taken us back to the Manchester United good old days. Early stages, of course it is, and we can't get carried away with it. But it's going to be a very difficult game for Tottenham.
Yeah, you're saying taking us back to the old days of Manchester United. That winner against Fulham came in Fergie time, didn't it, from Shishko?
Yeah, and I think that was what Tim's alluding to there, those kind of feels of Fergie time. And do you know what? He just seems to have tapped into the club's DNA. He knows exactly he knows the club's values. He knows it from top to bottom, and he seems to be installing it in this new look Manchester United team. And all of a sudden, he's getting more out of the players. They've got a little bit of an organisation. I feel as though he made a couple of really good changes, as in bringing Mainu back to win the fans over, moving Bruno Fernandes further forward, like kind of power plays almost as a manager, and all of a sudden the team are playing for him.
He's kept it nice and simple, hasn't he? You know, he's gone in with a back 4. He's playing players in their positions, what they recognise. He's got Sesko to score goals, where he got a couple against Burnley before, and then that's a fantastic finish there. Anderson to be desired, but it's a good finish. This sweeps into the corner. That will give him confidence.
Casemiro revival.
Yeah, recruitment's been good as well, hasn't it? Cunha and
he's pushed Bruno forward. Yeah, so it's got the options now. Cunha's a good player, and Mbeumo's a good plaer. Mason Mount's back to fitness.
Martinez back.
Yeah, there's confidence within the team once again. The question is it a new manager bounce, or is Michael Carrick a long-term option?
No, listen. Regardless of these results, when Michael Carrick put pen to paper on this kind of from then to the end of the season deal, there's no doubt in his mind he would have thought, you know what, if I can get the right results, I will take this job permanently. You always back yourself as a footballer and as a manager, and he'll believe that this job can be his, and he can't do any more at the moment. As far as I'm concerned, I really like this profile of his staff. I like Steve Holland as an older head who's a good coach. I like Johnny Evans, who's kind of that conduit between the players and knowing that playing staff. And then you've obviously got Jonathan Woodgate, who's played in the best clubs in the world. So for me, I think when you get a look at his staff and him and the players he's got, they were underperforming. How could you not look like you were going to be successful? Even if you hadn't won these games, you was going to get better results than Amorim because they were underperforming so badly. So for me, I think he will have half an hour in the job, and he did have when he put pen to paper.
Yeah, many saying now in pole position in that race for Champions League places, can they end the season even higher? What do you think Manchester United should expect?
They're not going to win the league, so I think it really, second or third is realistic for them. It would be a fantastic return. I think they'll be in a position where they might have to give him the job. He's always going to be tarnished with that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer brush, unfortunately, for the interim manager. Then when he takes it permanently, it was a little bit too much for him. I don't believe that is the case with Michael Carrick. I think it's a different manager, it's a different temperament, and someone who's, managed at Middlesbrough, well organised. I know it's a different level, but he knows the environment inside out. He knows the club he's going into. I think he's a perfect fit for him, and if he doesn't get the job, then he will walk into a big job in the Premier League anyway, if he's got the appetite again.
All that said means that it's a very tough game for Spurs. Your game of the weekend, as you said, I'm sure you want to see Spurs start this game the way they ended against City. Yeah,
we keep saying that, though. The reason why they're in the position where they are, 14th in the league, is because they have too many of them halves. We keep saying, well, they ended that game well. They ended it well against Villa. They ended up losing the game. They ended well the other day there, but they don't start well. It's sometimes when you're lost the game almost and you throw caution to the wind, it's quite easy as a player to go and do that. But he needs to have them organised from the outset, and they need to be more drilled, more organised out of possession, and certainly more progressive in their play. They're boring to watch. They don't pass the ball forward enough. They don't get enough shots off. I think it's a very negative Tottenham side at the moment, and them results just tell you a story.
Yeah, may actually count in their favour that they're playing away from home.
Yeah, I do feel for Thomas Frank. When I look at, when you talk about going forward and attacking, he's lost Solanke for a large chunk of the season, lost Kudus, lost Maddison, Kulusevski. Like a lot of his top players have been injured. I quite like the profile of some of the players that he's signed. I like Simmons, but I think for large periods of the season he was in that 10 and he's driving forward and there's no one in front of him. All of a sudden when he's got a 9 in front of him, looks like a different player, doesn't he? So I think there could be good signs at Spurs.
Just quick thoughts on Solanke's goals?
Fortunate. Is that fair to say? I think I really like the way he dusts Kushnev off in the last game. But the Scorpion one is fortunate. That's his bread and butter there, getting in between the sticks and those headers. But yeah, I like him. I like him a lot. I think that's very fortunate. I think you're beyond the ball, Tim. You just flick an ankle at it.
It makes a difference to him, doesn't he? He's a focal point. He's a focal point.
He's the only natural 9 they've got.
Yeah. And Richarlison, I agree with all the injuries, but when they draw to Burnley, who've got a foot in the Championship, West Ham at home as well, London Derby, where it's very emotional for the fans. Can't get them beat off them. It doesn't matter how many injuries you got. Away at Bournemouth, with respect, they've done all right, but the last kick of the game, there's some disappointing results even with their injuries. Every team has injuries. It's how you cope with them.
Yeah, but those are some big names and big injuries that have been out, especially, as you've already mentioned there, Glenn, in terms of the creativity that's been missing for Spurs.
Well, I think the major creativity in their team, and obviously, as we mentioned, the number 9 as well. I think when you look beyond that, there's a lot of players very much on a similar keel at Spurs, and they've had the first half of the year and they haven't really grasped that opportunity, have they? So when these boys do come back, I'm sure they'll be starting, and it'll be a more potent attack for Spurs.
You've joined us at the right time, Bill. You know what's coming. Look, Romero, that whole situation, let's cut straight to it. Do you think he is going to be there next season? And I guess the other thing is, should he be there next season?
I think it's an absolute disaster for Thomas Frank to have to come out and answer that. It's the worst thing, the position that Tottenham are in at this moment in time. Your captain comes and puts that post up straight after the deadline day window is shut, and you're thinking, wow, I don't need this. I think Thomas has come out there, he's been very, very honest, which we always expect. I think he's laid it on the table, he will still be his captain. Who knows what will happen in the summer? Only time will tell. He signed a new contract, Christian Romero, in the summer. He was given the armband when Thomas Frank came in, and has he made a mistake? In my opinion, I think he has, coming out that, and some Spurs fans will be at home saying, no, he's come out and voiced his opinion, it's right, they didn't sign many players. That's his opinion, but just keep it in-house. If you want to go and have a meeting with a hierarchy, that happens behind closed doors, but you don't need to wear it to everyone. It makes an issue out of something that could have been kept in for me. And I've said this isn't what Thomas Frank needed at this moment in time.
How much of an issue is it, though? Like, is it to the point where, are people questioning, should he still be captain, do you think?
No, he's made a mistake. No doubt in that. And Thomas give him the armband. There was probably, for me, him or Mickey van der Ven in the summer that he could have give it to, and he went with Romero. So he's sticking by it. If you take it off him now, it's an even bigger issue for me. Yeah. He's cleared it up. He wants to put that to bed. I didn't like it, and now you're prepared for Manchester United tomorrow.
Ben, how obviously worked with Thomas Frank, you will know firsthand what he's kind of like in a situation like this. When you saw this kind of go out there, how do you think Thomas Frank is going to be perceiving it all?
Yeah, you can tell he's not happy. I think he was very diplomatic in the way he answered the question.
Yeah.
As Dawes said, I think the captain's allowed an opinion, but for the good of the club, the good of the team, it stays in-house. If you've got a problem with the owners, you can speak to the owners and talk to them about it. I think airing it out in public, it just doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help Thomas, doesn't help the team. You know, they're under pressure as it is at the minute. You know, Romero's made a few mistakes this season, and you know, this is one of them. So Thomas will be looking at that and seeing, you know, what's gone on throughout the season as well, and this just adds to it as well for him. And yeah, I think.
Is he a manager to kind of calm those situations down?
He's a very calm manager, but you know, you'll know when he's not happy for sure. Right. I think he's not someone to shout on ball, but he will you know, chat and speak and doing it a very calm way, but you know, a way that you will know that it's not acceptable.
Will he let Cristian Romero know that is not what he wants?
Look, I like to think he's got a good rapport with his captain. He did at Brentford with Christian Norgard. They spoke on a daily basis, weekly basis, and you know, I'd like to think that he does that. He has a good rapport with all his players, and I think it'd be the same at Spurs as well. I think he'll have respect for him, and yeah, he will have had a chat with him for sure.
Mess, do you think this whole situation, is it highlighting that so-called lack of leaders that Spurs have got?
To be fair, he wears his heart on his sleeve.
Always.
He wears his heart. You know, I give him that. He works his heart on his sleeve. The problem they've got, they're two of their better players, him and Van der Ven. You know, the two centre-halves, I think they're a good pair when they're both fit and they're right at it. But this is going to be a hard one now. You know, if you're a Tottenham fan, you don't want to lose him. I don't know how they replace him, if I'm being honest. I think he's one of them when they're both playing together. You've got to start from somewhere with Tottenham, and that's at the back going forward. And you've got to keep them clean sheets or trying to keep clean sheets, and I think he'll be on his way at the end of the season, which is a shame. You know, I wouldn't like to play against him.
Yeah,
you know.
I don't think many players would.
With him, don't you?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't have liked to have played against him. He don't mess about. So yeah, but as a manager, when I was manager at Walsall, a couple of things happened and that was down here. Yeah. But Thomas Franks would have seen that and gone, oh no, I just don't need this.
Do you think that, you know, Dawes, that comeback against City, it was quite something, you know, that second half display, it was really like, it almost looked like, you know, the players really looked like they were getting behind Thomas Frank. Do you think that was what they were doing there? Do you think that's enough to do?
I mean, the first half performance was really, really poor. As poor as I've seen them for a long time, and I've seen them an awful lot this season. And there's been moments in the season where they have put performances like the second half. I mean, I look at the game against Sunderland in the first half, could have been out of sight. Second half, bang average, and then they end up drawing the game. So there has been periods where you're going, they're performing. And then on the flip side, it hasn't. But I think there was huge positives. I mean, Romero came off, went to a back four. I mean, there's so many injuries in camp at the moment. I mean, you look at Archie Graham to play right back, they played with a back three. Polina was playing right of a three. Yeah. So everyone's playing in different positions. It's been a real challenge for Thomas going in there. Huge football club with expectations to be doing way better. He will know that, Ben. He's at a club that is sitting 14th. I know they finished 17th last year, but that is not where Spurs should be sitting, in my opinion, with this group of players. I
think, Ben, for you, have you been kind of shocked by the style of play, let's say, that Spurs are playing? Because sometimes it feels like they're not going for it enough. You know, at Brentford we saw goals flowing. You had Mbumo, you know, Wissa. When you watch Spurs, are you like, this isn't a Thomas Frank team, or do you see the same bits that you were put through?
No, I think he would like to play a bit more of a attacking way, a creative way. I think there's a lack of confidence within the side as well. I think there's players that are still trying to find their feet. You know, Xavi Simon's a fantastic player, but he's just taking a little bit of time, as we spoke about Wirtz before. You know, a little bit of time to get going in the Premier League, and you know, Solanke's come back into the side and not really had. You know, they've had Richarlison up there a little bit, and you know, young lad Odebear playing. There's a lot of young players within that as well, but I think he does want to play a little bit more attacking. I see players turning down, you know, forward passes to go back a little bit more, and he'll probably be frustrated in that. You know, a little bit of confidence to play forward, to play, you know, that little bit more with a bit more of a risk as well at times. Will certainly benefit them, but that comes with confidence as well, and they're not getting the results, they're not getting the performances as well, and it kind of sort of seeps into the team, I guess.
Yeah, one player that you mentioned there, Dominic Solanke. I mean, Merce, he got one of the most spectacular goals we've ever seen at the weekend. How much confidence does that do for a player going into their next game when you pull off something like that?
Well, I mean, they're a 1 in a million goal, weren't they? I mean, it's a phenomenal goal. I mean, he can't win, can they, Tottenham? He scores that goal and probably win Arsenal the Premier League, that goal will. Do you know what I mean? He can't. Yeah, I like Solanke. He's been unlucky, Frank, and Tottenham themselves. They've had some big injuries to big foot players. Solanke, massive presence up front. He's a good centre forward, in my opinion. You've got Maddison and Kulusevski who are missing. For me, they're their three players. And you've got the two centre halves, and then probably need. Well, I like Conor Gallagher. They brought Conor Gallagher in, so they're building around. They've just got to get them players fit at the moment. It isn't helping. Too many players injured. Too many players out for too long. I think hopefully he'll be judged next season and not this season, Thomas Frank.
Yeah. Dawes, on that, do you think he's already been judged by the Spurs fans? Do you know what I mean? Is there a way back? Because it feels... I
certainly hope so. I echo what Merce says. I mean, you look at your front line of Dominic Solanke coming back in. We've seen a massive difference when he plays up top. You go Kulusevski on the right, Maddison in the 10, Simmons, which Ben said, we're starting to see some glimpses what we expected from him, but it takes time. The two in the middle of the pack, Conor Gallagher for me was a no-brainer with Bentancur getting injured, being out for the season. People say it's very similar to what they have with a Bergvall, an Archie Gray, a Polina, Pap Sarr. It's similar. No, he's been captain at Chelsea. He's been to Atletico Madrid and he's come back. And I saw the second goal last week for Dominic Solanke where he beats two Man City. He's a drive in the middle of the park. I think he can bring leadership to the group, which they need. They're a pretty young group. Yeah. And when you're missing the experience of Maddison and Kulusevski, which we keep talking about, it's going to be a challenge for Thomas. So I hope he gets an opportunity to put things right and get Spurs up the table. And you look at the Champions League, it's going okay in that.
That's it. Well, that is Spurs. Dawes, you're leading us now because you've got the Friday night football.
Not after what he just said about the Champions League, was it?
Wow. You got the Friday night football. Leeds, Nottingham Forest, of course. You did a swap there for Stuart Dallas. Very good. So we'll let you get to that. Right, stay exactly where you are. Next, we will go live.
Welcome back to the Fancy Show. Here's your first reminder of part 2. Your deadline is on Friday. It's an early one this week, 6:30 p.m. UK time. 90 minutes for Leeds host Nottingham Forest. Set an alarm, do whatever you need to do, just don't miss it. Now, we've still got loads to get through on the show, and we're actually now, having spoken about forwards, going to turn our focus onto a different position on the pitch. We're going to talk about midfielders. So let's start with looking at the most transferred in players, and there is a couple of Fernandezes topping the list, and I don't think this is too much of a surprise, is it? Particularly when you consider the form and the fixtures of both Manchester United and Chelsea. Praz.
Yeah, and this is a lovely list, by the way. Like, midfielders in FPL are probably the best picks because, they get more points for goals, they get clean sheet points, and just having good midfielders is a good feel factor, in FPL. And all of these are good options. We've talked about Declan Rice, obviously, as part of the Arsenal chat. But as a Man United fan, I love seeing Mbeumo and Bruno in there. Enzo's doing really well. We talked about João Pedro's fixtures, and we talked about Liverpool with Wirtz. So I think they're all great picks. And then you add Semenyo into the mix as well. So any of these 5 or 4 are great.
Let's talk about Manchester United then, because I think a lot of us rush to go with Bruno Fernandes. It feels weird asking the Liverpool fan when I've got the Man United fan sitting there. So do chip in, Praz. But should we now be looking at the double up?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, Bruno Fernandes is in a lot of teams, rightly so. We've sat here, we don't need to sit here and talk about routes to points, and he's on penalties and takes a lot of free kick. Listen, if you've not got Bruno Fernandes in your team, I think that's one you need to address. You need to get him in almost immediately, I'd suggest. But outside of that, yeah, I mean, Brian Mbeumo feels like the one to go for. I don't know about you, Praz, but he's been playing in that number 9 position, hasn't he? And Sesko's been the one to drop to the bench. Yep. I don't know, if Sesko does get a start and he's been impressing coming off the bench, would that mean that Mbeumo moves to the right instead of Ahmad? Although Ahmad's playing particularly well as well. So what do you think?
I mean, there's a little bit of an unknown with Carrick, right? It's a new manager, and at the moment when Sesko did come on in the last game against Fulham, it was Mbeumo who moved to the left, actually, and Cunha went off. So it feels like Mbeumo's minutes are more secure, or most after Bruno. Yeah. So, and his data is exceptional. You looked at the charts there, an XGI per 90 of 0.64 means he's getting a goal or assist every 2 in 3 games. So those are great numbers, and you're getting some minutes of him up top. He's clinical. I think he's a good pick.
What about Cunha, though? He's a little bit cheaper, or do you just feel that they're more reliable for starts?
Cunha is cheaper, but fewer minutes. And also you're waiting for that worldie. Now, Cunha can score a lot of them. We saw for Wolves last year. But, you know, those goals are less predictable than the ones that Mbeumo gets or the chances that he gets. So I think between the two, I would still pick Mbeumo if I had the money.
OK, moving on to the other Fernandes that was top of that midfielders list then, and on to Enzo. I've brought him in and very much enjoyed getting his points, and he feels like a lovely way into those Chelsea nice fixtures that we saw earlier.
Yeah, it was a bit of a concern, I think, when I saw the starting lineup for Chelsea last game week. I thought, well, Palmer's playing and João Pedro's playing, so that means Enzo's probably going to drop a little bit back into that more 8 role. I want to see him in the 10, right? If I've got him in FPL, I want him in the 10, in and around the striker. But listen, he popped up in the last minute with a very kind of box-crashing 8 run, very Lampard-esque, if he doesn't mind me saying, right? And, you know, we all know how good Frank Lampard was for us in FPL. Maybe we're going to get that from Enzo Fernandez. And he takes a lot of the penalties when Palmer's not available. And at the moment, you know, Palmer's availability is some question marks about how fit he is. So he might not always play the 90 minutes. And if that's the case, Fernandes takes the penalties. So, and he's not price prohibitive either in FPL. So there's no reason not to get him, I think, right now, particularly with the fixtures looking good.
Yeah, I guess the only issue is that there's so many midfielders we want. Another one, Florian Wirtz. We've already spoken about Hugo Ekitike on today's show. And we said, didn't we, we're probably going to want one of Ekitike or Wirtz over the next few. I mean, if I didn't have either, I'd probably be leaning towards Wirtz. What about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, there's a price difference, right? Enzo is still under 7 million. Wirtz is over 8 million. So if you were short of money, then Enzo Fernandez is a great choice. And, you know, we talked about the fixtures. I think for Wirtz, I prefer his fixtures after he's played Nottingham Forest away, which is, you know, Man City is a good one, but Sunderland away, Nottingham Forest away, not as good for that Liverpool team that have struggled against low blocks. So that fixture run after that, game week 28 onwards, is what I would target to get a Liverpool attacker if you don't have one at the moment.
Let's just check in on Antoine Semenyo, because we spoke about him so much when he was at Bournemouth in his brilliant form. We weren't quite sure at Manchester City. We knew he was a brilliant player, but exactly where he would fit in, because Pep can sometimes take his time with players. We know he hasn't been able to play in the Champions League so far. What have you made to his start at life at City? And is he an FPL option?
Yeah, he started great and he hit the ground running. I think that versatility is something that Pep and Man City have brought into, the fact that he can play left or right. And you're right, Kelly, because he wasn't in the Champions League squad to start with, that was one of the reasons I brought him in, actually. I thought, well, we all love and know the Pep roulette, don't we? For many years, we've been here with FPL, and we're never quite sure which one to go for. Well, with no Champions League football, Semenyo, with that versatility as well, is probably going to get the start. And one of the things that Pep said when he first comes to the club was, and I always remember this statement, he talks about having the midfielders, and particularly Semenyo, taking that goal burden away from Haaland. And maybe we're seeing that, actually, as quite a few of the FPL community going away from Haalander's captaincy, because a lot of the kind of the XG is being generated by Semenyo now. He's not a get up to the byline and look up and assist like Doku is. He's a very different sort of player. So I like him in FPL, yes.
Have you got him in your team
I
still?
do, yeah, and I'll be